a large global criminal organizations group with a focus on drug trafficking and money laundering. The Sinaloa Cartel, also known as the Pacific Cartel, the Federation, and the Blood Alliance, headed by the popularly known drug baron Guzmán El Chapo. Now, there have been many instances where friends have turned against one another, become protected witnesses, and given bad testimonials about their friends. About 20 years since its main agreement in the late 1990s, one of these attempts re-emerged. Maliciously detained and later freed from a US prison for good behavior, today you're about to hear a mind-boggling story about an infamous yet legendary career criminal who was betrayed by his ally. Hector El Guero Palma Salazar, the right-hand man and close pal of the drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzmán, was regarded as one of the most dangerous drug traffickers in Mexico in the 1980s and 1990s. He was born in the town of Noria de Abajo in the state of Sinaloa, the Republic of Mexico. He experienced poverty as a child and felt compelled to drop out of school before finishing elementary class in order to try to support his family. His illegal business started off when he caught the eye of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, also known as the Chief of Chiefs, a man with a long history as a powerful drug kingpin. He started his long and arduous crime spree as a car thief on his own scheme, advanced to the level of a cold-blooded killer, and later received a commission from the organization to handle the supply chain of the entry of large shipments of drugs through a section of Mexican state of Sonora and the United States, before becoming one of the Sinaloa cartel's commanders. Gallardo is the biggest opiate and marijuana drug dealer in Mexico. He collaborated with Joaquin Guzmán Loera, popularly known as El Chapo, who had an identical post in the Tecate in the Baja California region. This increased Palma's desire to the point where he couldn't resist the urge to keep a shipment, which was against the cartel's ideal executive code, making him a traitor and subject to all possible repercussions. Eventually, Miguel Angel Felix was apprehended and imprisoned, despite the fact that he accused a dishonest police officer who turned against him. There were widespread suspicions that Guzmán and Palma had deserted their leader. This was supported by the fact that two were implicated in ordering the murders of the Godfather's senior aides and attorneys, even if it's possible that they acted in self-defense due to reports of their treachery. As a matter of fact, a bloody drug war broke out in 1989 between the Arellano Felix brothers and Palma and Guzmán on one side. The north of Mexico was terrorized by mass executions, bombings, assassinations, and abductions as a result of a conflict that was both personal and territorial. Before the dissolution of the Guadalajara cartel, Sonora, a vital border city in the United States, was under the control of Palma and Guzmán. Both sides were vying for control of Sonora. They both gained control over the territory, while the Arellano Felix brothers had established the Tijuana cartel now that Miguel Angel was out of the game. The Sinaloa cartel was founded by Ismael El Mayo Zambada, Palma, and Guzmán. A tragedy that would permanently affect Palma's life transpired in this horrific setting. With the Sinaloa cartel, El Güero and Guzmán Loera moved quickly and dominated the drug trade during the end of the 1980s. But Palma soon suffered the hardest blow. The Chief of Chiefs was determined to take vengeance on the person who had formerly gained all of his trust, so he devised a cunning scheme to render him as miserable as possible. The strategy started when he hired Rafael Clavel Moreno, a very attractive man of Venezuelan identity. This man's goal was to invade El Guero Palma's inner circle. Clavel completed the appointed mission. He had gained his loyalty to the level of becoming his partner in some unsafe and illegal business idea. He also used his persuasion abilities to marry one of Palma's sisters. The final step was to become his wife's lover and persuade her to take 2 million pesos from her accounts in order to travel with him to San Francisco, California, where they remained at a guest house, and then he managed to slit her throat. The children of Hector and Guadalupe, Hector, Jess, and Natalie, were taken 15 days later to San Cristobal, Venezuela, where he threw them off the La Concordia Bridge while taking precautions to record the horrifying incident on camera and email it to Palma. In the Jardines del Humaya Pantheon in Culiacán, Sinaloa, El Güero constructed a mausoleum for his family that is thought to be worth $420,000. There he made a portrait of his wife and kids on the rooftop. Their portraits look down on the place where Palma will also be buried one day. After some time had passed for mourning, however, his anger, supported by Guzmán and Zambada, provided him fuel. After his family was murdered, Palma vowed vengeance and went on a gruesome killing rampage. 3 of Clavel's children were killed. In prison, Clavel himself was executed by beheading. Along with him, 3 of his associates were brutally killed and dismembered. El Güero also gave the order to kill 9 of Felix Gallardo's friends and family as retaliation. The deaths of Jess Güemes, Rafael Clavel's attorney, 9 workers of the Arellano family, Norma Corona Salazar, a human rights activist, and 3 Venezuelan students enrolled at the Autonomous University of Sinaloa are also ascribed to El Güero wrath. A blast of internal organs, many blows, and skull fractures was all visible on some of the deceased. He was also involved in the murder of 10 people in a club attack in Puerto Vallarta, Jalisco. Arellano Felix brothers, who were present in the mentioned location, were the target of the attack. Later on, a small plane that was transporting him from Guadalajara, Jalisco, to Ciudad Obregón, Sonora crashed. After surviving the plane incident, Palma was apprehended by Mexican military troops. According to press reports, PGR operatives assisted him and took him away from the accident scene so that he could escape his assailants. When they spotted gold-covered, diamond-inlaid weapons, a distinctive Colt Super 83 revolver, and an emerald-topped palm tree near where he was receiving treatment for his accident-related injuries, the Mexican army soldiers who had captured him realized who he was. He was given a 7-year jail sentence by Mexican authorities in the maximum security prison in Puente Grande, Jalisco, for drug trafficking, narcotics possession, and gang violence. There, he had the chance to reconnect with his former partner Joaquin Guzmán, also known as El Chapo, who had later escaped from the facility in 2001. Just a moment. In case you haven't liked this video, tap the like and subscribe button right away. Now, back to the video. Joaquin El Chapo Guzmán attempted to strike a deal with the DEA in the late 1990s from behind bars to turn on his adversaries in exchange for immunity. The kingpin allegedly offered intel on his own partner, Hector El Guero Palma, as well as the competing Arellano Felix and Beltran Levia cartels in exchange for personal gain. At the time Guzmán was incarcerated, he was still the head of the Sinaloa cartel. El Güero seized control of the entire Puente Grande prison alongside El Chapo and Arturo Martinez El Texas. The 3 criminals enforced their laws inside the correctional complex, according to the inquiry into Guzmán's escape. The prosecutor's office charged Palma with being one of the escapee's collaborators. However, he was later cleared of this accusation. At that time, Guzmán requested a meeting with Joe Bond, a Mexican-American DEA agent stationed in Mexico City, through his brother-in-law in 1998 when he was detained in the Puente Grande jail in southwest Mexico. A reporter named Hurowitz visited Guzmán's hometown of La Tuna in the state of Sinaloa after covering Guzmán's court proceedings in Brooklyn in 2018 and 2019 to chat with people who knew him before he became a renowned cartel member. Hurowitz discovered that El Chapo wanted to give Bond specific information about his business and the identities and whereabouts of his competitors in exchange for the safety of his family and the dismissal of the US accusations against him. More than 2 hours were spent in a meeting that included Jose Padillo, a representative of the Mexican Attorney General's office who let the DEA agents enter Puente Grande. Guzmán was not expecting the meeting when Bond and fellow agent Larry Villalobos had promised to visit him while he was in jail but had not specified a specific time. They pretended to be sociologists seeking a private conversation with El Chapo while using false identification. Bond didn't reveal his identity as Tito, the cover name he had decided to use for the meeting, until he entered the premises. An arrest warrant for repatriation by the United States came to Mexico in 2002, just before he was set to be released from prison after serving his sentence in full. As a result, the drug lord was unable to escape prison and was forced to stay there until 2007. When he was ultimately deported to the United States, Palma was extradited to the US and later found guilty of trafficking drugs. He first received a prison sentence in Phoenix, Arizona, where he met with other prisoners. But after being given a sentence of 16 years in jail and 5 years on probation, he was transferred to Colorado's federal prison, located in the middle of the country. Due to his admission of confession to the charges against him and his exemplary conduct while inside, he served only a small portion of his 16-year sentence. He spent most of his time moving between the jails in Florence, Colorado, and Atwater, California, as he was already in American custody. Guzmán served a life sentence at ADX Florence, the safest maximum security facility in the state. The location is well known for the scenery that Fremont County's mountains provide. The design of the jail prevents inmates from ever appreciating them though. Palma never met with any other prisoners there. He was in his cell for 23 hours a day, and at hour 24, a window in the ceiling allowed him to observe the sun in the sky. At the age of 56, Guero Palma was claimed to have multiple missing teeth, an inguinal hernia, hemorrhoids, poor vision, and other physical impairments. He was the second cartel boss to be freed from a US prison. Now that Palma is a free man, it remains unknown exactly what he is doing or where he is. Is he dead? Or probably he's managing a local cartel in a solitary place in Mexico. What do you think about his unusual disappearance? We'd like to know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.